With inflation going down from 8.1 to 7.6, people are curious about how this affects the total cost of living in Calgary, Alberta. When comparing our prices here to other major cities, it's quite eye-opening to see just how big of a gap that is, especially in the same country. How much of a difference, you ask? Well, let's break it down. Hi, my name's Adam Fife and I'm your local Calgary Realtor. I upload weekly videos talking about current market conditions and interesting topics just like this. If you're looking to make a move or just looking to obtain some information about the Calgary real estate market, feel free to book a time slot in my calendar link below. So let's go. Now these numbers consistently shift, so make sure that you're getting the most up-to-date information and subscribe to the channel to get the best information first. When people first move to Calgary, they'll typically rent a property, either a short-term 3 to 6 month agreement or a longer 12-month agreement. So let's start off by looking at some rental numbers for Q3 of 2022. I typically utilize rentfaster.ca to get a quick snapshot of rents in a given community or quadrant. When I have an investor looking for an income property, I will utilize this website while cross-referencing other platforms to build that full picture. So let's do this. We'll look at 1 and 2 bedroom condos, 2 to 3 bedroom townhouse, a main floor rental, a basement rental, and finally a full house rental. Now, these prices will vary depending on the quadrant that you're searching in. But if you look at this chart here for July 2022, you can do the math and see that $518,000 is the average price point across all quadrants. So for the sake of this video, all of my rental prices and purchase prices will be pulled from the southern quadrant of Calgary. We can make some hypothetical adjustments for the different areas of Calgary. For example, you would have to assume that rents in the city center and western quadrant of Calgary will be more expensive when considering the southern quadrant. And when considering home prices, you would have to assume that home prices in Calgary East would be cheaper than Calgary South. Now, these numbers I'm about to provide should be somewhat of an average. You can make some minor adjustments from there. All right, so what I've decided to do is make this a lot easier for everyone and just do a screen share. Now, this is going to be a quick overview of rentals in South Calgary. Obviously, you can take this a lot deeper and go into any quadrant or community that you're searching in, but this is just an overview of what is expected as the average price point in Calgary. So we'll start off with apartments, 1 and 1 plus 10. So just a quick overview. You can see you can get some nicer condos at 1,700 down to 1,100. Let's go when you got 1,000, you got 1,700, 1,200. These are going to obviously depend on newer condos, nicer communities, and there's going to be a lot of amenities around certain areas that are going to actually boast a little bit more of an expensive or less expensive product. So if we go same thing, condos 2 and 2, let's just take a quick look here. So look at that. You got one all the way up to 2,700, 2,000, 1,600, 2,300, 1,600, 1,900. On average, I'm seeing around $1,800 to $2,100, at least in my career, for 2 and 2s in a decent neighborhood. So let's go to townhouses, 2 and 3 beds. So you can see you got a nice one right up here for 2,900. It's a little bit on the southeast side, but we'll let it slide. 2,500, 1,600, 1,300. On average, what I've seen, at least in my career, is about $1,900 to $2,100 for a decent townhouse. So let's move along to main floors. Now, main floors are interesting because main floors are going to vary depending if it's a bungalow or if it's a 2-story. Prime example. So you've got a semi-detached main floor here, which is $1,900, and then you've got looks like a newer main floor of $2,300. So this is going to be a very, very big difference. So on average, probably about $1,800 to $2,400 for a decent main floor here in South Calgary. Now, moving forward, we got basements. I've left it wide open for bedrooms. Basements, the same thing. Is it a walkout? Is it a newer home, older home, lots of sun, no sun? You can see that there's 900, 1,800, 850 here, 1,200. These are going to vary quite a bit depending on what you want, but realistically, this rent is very achievable for most Canadians that are looking to move to Calgary. And then finally, we'll do houses. Now, houses are huge. There's going to be a huge difference in here as well. So right off the hop, you can see $4,500 for this house and $2,300 for this house. On average, what I've seen in my career, about $2,400 to $2,800 is your normal rental for a full house, depending on what it has, where amenities it's near, and the year of the home, I guess you could say. So that is a very quick overview of rentals here in Calgary. So let's go to the next one. Next, let's chat about buying an apartment, a townhouse, a semi-detached home, or a full single detached house. But before we do that, we need to get educated on the benchmark price attributes of Calgary. Now, Calgary uses a sophisticated calculation to obtain a benchmark price for each category in each quadrant. So when you hear me talking about benchmark prices, I'd like for you to refer back to this explanation to get the full picture if you're going to get confused about how I got to that actual price point in the first place. You can almost say that it's the average price point with a few more additions to the equation. Now I'm going to go through this fairly fast, so hold on. In Calgary, a single family home equals 4 total bedrooms with fully finished basement, a double attached garage, 1,445 square foot above grade, a lot size of almost 5,000 square foot, poured concrete basement, and built in 1999. The benchmark attributes for a semi-detached house is 4 total bedrooms, a finished basement, a double detached garage, 1,260 square foot above grade, a lot size of 3,000 square foot, and built in 2005. A townhouse is 2 total bedrooms, a fully finished basement, 2 full bathrooms, a single attached garage, 1,178 square foot above grade, and built in 2003. Finally, an apartment, which is a 2-bed, 2-bath, underground parking, 905 square foot, and built in 2005. Okay, so that's your overview of benchmark attributes here in Calgary. Now, this chart is boring, so pause the video and check out the benchmark prices across each property type in each quadrant of Calgary. I actually go over this every single month. This isn't the most fun to read, but for the people who are analytical, this is what you came for. If you want to see all the fancy photos and the marketing from different homes on the market here in Calgary, feel free to book a time slot in my calendar link below, and I will happily set you up in my app and share some insight with you. Okay, so moving forward to utilities, things like gas, water, waste collection, electricity, and internet. Now, the best way to showcase this is by sharing my own personal information. Now, I live in a small 1958 bungalow in an older community with a pretty low efficient furnace. So my numbers will differ from someone who lives in a 2022 2-story home with a brand new furnace, low wattage appliances, and brand new windows. So keep that in mind. Okay, so let's start this off by looking at the electricity and natural gas. You can see that for the month of July, I actually paid $109, about $40 for electricity and $63 for natural gas. Now, a couple of things to put in consideration. First, we have a window shaker AC unit that has been running for the past 2 months, which has been added to our electricity bill. Whereas March and April, you can see that we had our furnace running quite a bit as it was a little bit of a cooler spring. Now, without getting too much into it, I paid $168 in July, $167 in June, $234 in May, $235 in April, and $223 in March. So, with the summer months upon us, I'm paying significantly less than I was paying in the spring. But there are many factors that go into utility bills. Prime example, my windows and a few of the appliances are fairly old. Next, here's my bill from a supplier for the city services. Now, you can see that for the month of July, I paid $40 for water waste treatment, $52 for water collection, $15 for stormwater, and $23 for waste and recycling, for a grand total of $130 per month. Let's not forget that these numbers will change across different communities all over Calgary. Okay, so this next one is interesting and will change throughout the year, but transportation is vital for everyone to get around this city. Calgary was pretty much built for cars, but our city-provided transportation is getting a lot better than years past. So first, let's check out gas prices. When browsing this great website called Gas Buddy, you can see that some of the cheapest gas in Calgary as of August 2022 is in the northwest quadrant of the city, sitting around $1.43 per liter. This is significantly down from earlier in the year when we saw gas prices reach almost $2. Luckily, our provincial government removed a 10 to 12% gas tax to offset some of the crazy inflation that we were experiencing. Now, I'm not sure how long that will last, but it could be worth looking into. Now, next in transportation, we do have our LRT line, or our light rail transit system, which is called the C train. Now, it runs from northwest to south and northeast to west, as seen on the map here. Now, a couple things to know. First, the one-time use for adults is $3.60, and that will get you anywhere along the train line. Youth is only $2.45, and children are actually free. Next, we have our day passes, which is unlimited rides for that day, and it's $11.25 for adults and $8.25 for youth. Our monthly pass is $112, where the youth is only $82 for that month. And finally, some specials. Now, we do have an airport pass for $11.25, a senior yearly pass for $150, and an annual senior low-income pass for $30 a year, and all pets are free. So that conducts the rent, the purchasing a home, some utility costs, and a bit of transportation. Now, I know that it's not absolutely everything, but it's a really good start to figuring out what it would cost you to live in Calgary. So with all that being said, let's look at some of the comparisons between Calgary and both Toronto as well as Vancouver. Now, just like my own numbers here, you need to take this with a grain of salt, but I will link these websites in the description below. So let's check it out. So just like the rental overview, I'm going to do a quick screen share and showcase some of the differences from this one source about how Calgary is cheaper than Vancouver and Toronto. So let's start with Vancouver. Calgary is 9% cheaper than it is in Vancouver. And don't forget, I will link this website down below if you are curious. So if we start to dive into it and look into these graphs, you can see that food is actually a little bit more expensive. Housing, clothes, and transportation, personal care are all
less expensive. So if we start to break these numbers down, we can see that, obviously the food is a little bit of a smaller price point. You can see some cheeses are a little bit more expensive, some tomatoes are a little bit more expensive, Coca-Cola for some reason is more expensive. But when we start to go down to housing, we can see that Calgary is 23% cheaper than it is in Vancouver. A monthly rent for a 900 square foot unit is only $2,000 compared to the $4,000 that you would pay in Vancouver. Same differences here. I mean, if you look at utilities, oddly enough, utilities are actually a little bit more expensive in Calgary than they are in Vancouver. Not sure why that is. But rent on an even smaller furnished studio is $1,700 versus the $2,200 that you potentially could pay in Vancouver. So you can scroll through this and get as much information as you want. I will link it below. Transportation in Calgary is 8% cheaper than it is in Vancouver. You can see that a Volkswagen Golf is worth about $2,700, where in Vancouver it's only about $2,600, which is kind of funny because I thought it would be the other way around with some of the taxes, but apparently not. Some of the transportation costs, like gas, is definitely going to be a big savings, and then monthly public transportation is going to be a big savings as well. So that's all I've got for the Vancouver. So let's move to Toronto and just see a quick glimpse of what's going on. So we got 5% cheaper than Toronto. So we can see, look at the food and the personal care are actually quite a bit more than it is in Toronto. So if we start to break these things down, you can go through all of these different foods, 24% more expensive than it is in Toronto. We start to look at some of the rents. In Toronto, it's significantly less than Vancouver, only about $3,300, but still Calgary is about $2,000. And then you look at smaller studios, $1,700 versus the $2,100 that you would see in Toronto. And then again, you can go through some of these stats if you're interested, as well as transportation. They're actually roughly about the same pricing for cars, again, which is quite fascinating to me because our taxes are quite different. But who knows what import charges cost and stuff to get it across the country. Gas is actually cheaper than it is now. As you saw in today's video, it's down to about $1.43. So it'll be interesting to see what this updates to. But that's it. That's a quick overview of some comparisons between Toronto and Vancouver. I will link this below. You can dive into it as deep as you want, but do take it with a grain of salt. As you can see, it's a little bit out of date.
All right, folks, that's it. I hope you got some value from this video. This video did take a little while to prepare, so please leave a comment, and if you like, subscribe to the channel to see more well put together videos just like this. If you have any questions, my calendar link is below. So until next time, peace.